the most shady. Frankie, baby.
Frank, obviously with this off, what's Tyson going to do now?
To run my kingdom, you must choose fire.
Tyson Fury, he should
retire.
Last year, his fight against Dillian Whyte was the highest grossing pay-per-view on in the UK.
Last year,
it beat the Usyk Joshua fight. It was a bigger number than that. He broke all box office records at Wembley last April for that fight with Dillian Whyte. For the highest grossing event, not boxing event, ever, the highest grossing event to take place at Wembley. That's what it, that's his drawing power. So,
highest grossing pay-per-view fight in Britain, Fury versus Whyte, because he mentioned this a few months back.
His fight last year with Dillian Whyte was the highest grossing pay-per-view event to take place in the UK. It beat Usyk and Joshua. That is a fact of life.
Well, I'm looking for sources of how much Whyte and Fury did. I could find one source which said 700,000. I found a couple of sources of Usyk and Joshua too, and it says 1.2 million. So either Frank has dementia or he's a fucking liar.
And when we spoke to you not long after the Dillian Whyte fight earlier in the year, which was, of course, the biggest attendance ever for boxing in the UK, you said that you were very happy with the pay-per-view numbers. You said the gate had exceeded that for Anthony Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko, but the final numbers weren't in. Can you give us a rough idea, so many months later now, of the pay-per-view buys? Was it over 1 million?
You caught me on the hop there, but they've done really well. Everybody's highly delighted with the numbers, what they did. Highly delighted.
Can't tell us if it hit that million figure?
I'm not. I've got to be honest here. I can't remember what it was.
The old amnesia trick, eh, Frank?
But no one's complained. Everybody's happy with the number that hit. That was a big show, and obviously you only had to see yourself. We could have sold 100,000 tickets there.
We could have sold 100,000 tickets. He's asking you what the pay-per-view numbers are. We got receipts on the gate, the record attendance in a British ring. Credit due. But we got them receipts. Pay-per-view numbers, Frank.
I can't remember what it was.
You see him rocking back and forth, stumbling over his words. You beat Anthony Joshua's record for all-time pay-per-view buys in the UK, and you can't remember the numbers.
Can't tell us if it hit that million figure?
I'm not. I've got to be honest here. I can't remember what it was.
Now, if you're not lying, how would you answer what Danny said? You would have said, yes, we beat the million mark, but I can't remember the exact number. That's what you would say. Not, I can't remember. You wouldn't have to know the exact number. Lying toe rag. Eddie said 600. The only other receipt said 7. And I do my diligence because I don't want nobody to say, well, what's this? What's this here, BC? You're a hater. No. I searched and searched and searched.
Last one on Tyson Fury. Saw some comments today from Frank Warren saying that Fury Whyte brought in more revenue than Joshua Klitschko. What's your reaction to that?
I would say absolute rubbish, because it did terrible on the pay-per-view buys in America. I'm hearing from sources that it was less than 100,000 pay-per-view buys, and the Klitschko fight did 1.2 million pay-per-view buys versus what probably was 600,000 buys, although there was a price increase. I think Klitschko AJ was $19.99 versus $24.99.
Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte was actually $26.95, not $24.95 like Eddie said. Vladimir Klitschko versus Joshua in 2017 was £19.99. Now, I'm not going to do the maths even with a calculator, but I don't believe that, let's say, 600, 800 buys at $26.95 a pop brings in more pay-per-view revenue than 1.2 million buys, £19.99 a pop. But I could be wrong on that. I don't think it does, though. I mean, Frank Warren was talking about Fury versus Whyte was going to do 1.5 million pay-per-view buys in the UK. And Bob Arum was saying that the fight was going to do 500,000 in America. But according to Sporting Icons and Rick Glazer, it done 40,000. And Rick Glazer is a Bob Arum man. Bob Arum has him in his pocket. Anything Arum does, he inflates, and anything the PPC do, Rick will deflate. Probably done less than 40,000 in all truth. It's crazy. You know, like, first he gets amnesia, and then when you go to the receipts, the fight between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk brought in 700,000 buys. Warren replies, "Our result was much higher," said Warren. How much? He keeps saying much higher. He won't say a number. But you want to tell the world that Fury and White done more pay-per-view buys. But you don't want to brag, I guess. You can find the Joshua and Usyk numbers anywhere from a various amount of sources. And they all say 1.2.
We were doing we were talking originally to them both about, both sides about, who's going to get what. We're negotiating, saying, representing our man, this is what we think he's worth, and they come back and said what he's worth. Tyson then put a video out saying 70-30. Now, he put that out, he just put it out of his own volition.
Mm-hmm.
And
shouldn't have accepted it, should he?
Yeah, they accepted it. There was no negotiation. Look, it's very easy. Didn't come back and say, you know what, 70-30, let's make it 60-40 and let's settle in. There would.
I mean, Gareth A. Davis and Adam Catterall letting them get away with it. I thought Adam Catterall was the one who would stand up, but now TalkSport is rotten. They accepted 70-30 because you had the Gypsy King jumping up and down every second, screaming and shouting like it was an ultimatum. Here's what he said exactly. Receipts.
Usyk, you and your team are worth 30%. You either take it or you leave it. And if you don't want it, go and fight Daniel Dubois at the Copper Box.
That's it. You heard it yourself. Ultimatum. You either take it or leave it. They accepted 70-30 because a deadline was coming where the WBA were going to call time on the negotiation and mandate Daniel Dubois to fight Usyk. Accepting the 70-30 gave them a little more time to negotiate and get the fight over the line, right? And you're saying, well, they shouldn't have accepted it. Why did you offer it? Why did you offer 70-30? Knowing if you did that, they could walk away from the table. But they called you bluff.
First of all, when this fight came about, Tyson said, you want this fight, the terms are 70-30. That's what he said, yeah? And they came back and said, we accept that. So we didn't negotiate. They said we accept it.
As long as Tyson gives 1 million to the Ukraine.
Correct. And that was where we were. And we dealt with that on the Sunday where Tyson, where I said, Tyson doesn't want to get into political situations.
Tyson don't want to get into political situations. But in the press conference, he said him, his dad and the boys would gladly go over there and fight if they were conscripted by the UK government. That don't sound like someone who don't want to get involved in politics.
Tyson, on a more serious note, obviously you talked about Vladimir Klitschko just now, and obviously you've beaten him in the past, but just wanted to get your view on the fact that Vitaly and Vladimir Klitschko and your fellow heavyweight world champion Alexander Usyk going back to their country to enlist and sign up and halt the invasion from Putin at the moment. I just wondered what your thoughts were for those guys that they want to protect their own country.
Fantastic, I'll be the first one to join up if England get involved or America. I'll be first in line for the job. My dad will as well, and all the boys will all be signing up to defend. So that's what I got to say. I think.
So that's another point that Usyk's people asked for. You turned down. You didn't want to give them the million because you didn't want to get involved in politics. Why didn't you say that at a press conference when Gareth Davis asked you what you thought about the situation in the Ukraine? You didn't say that then.
But I'll have a bet with you, and the loser puts the million in.
That's not the term they asked for a bet. They asked you to give up some of that 70%.
The loser puts the million in. So, no problem. And we dealt with it in another way. It was all dealt with. That was out of the way. The only outstanding issue is...
And we dealt with it in another way, so that was no problem. Really? What, you think they was joking when they asked for that term? Sounds like a problem to me, but this guy's saying it's no problem. You offer them a bet, the loser puts the million in, rather than you just give up 1 million out of that 70% you're getting. You didn't want to make this fight. I noticed Joseph Parker was at the Manchester Arena last night. You know who weren't there? Who didn't want to show their face?
I spoke to him a couple of times, and Tyson gets very peed off, and he was very angry, and frustrated. And I understand, and some of that social media stuff. Obviously, the guy looks after it in my office. Obviously, he tells me what's going on, and there's two camps in this country. There's the Joshua fans and there's the Tyson Fury fans. And the Joshua fans believe that Joshua will beat him, and obviously the Tyson's fans feel he'll beat. So you're only going to get, all you're going to get from the Joshua fans is hate. That's how it is. Tyson's done nothing wrong here.
Even when Eddie Hearn or Joshua are not in the negotiation, they somehow get the blame. Well, they don't get the blame. We're getting the blame for why Usyk and the fight didn't make, or why Frank can't win the propaganda war. If Frank Warren really believes it's just Anthony Joshua fans, it's ridiculous.
When are you guys out there gonna start understanding, right? It's not about the money. I'll fight him for free. As long as the tickets are free for the general public, fuck off. You've all been played for all these years.
What else? We know Sugar Hill wasn't here for Tyson Fury. He was here to train Lawrence Okolie. He said as much. And his ticket was booked for the 28th of March. That's the return flight. This has become a propaganda war. And unfortunately for Frank Warren and Bob Arum, they don't have a polarizing figure like Eddie Hearn to lump all the liability on, like when Eddie got the deal done in 2021 for Undisputed with AJ and Fury. Even though he'd done all the donkey work, they said he had egg on his face. Frank Warren and Arum actually somehow put all the blame on Eddie for the fight not happening, although they had the mediation, arbitration, litigation situation with Wilder and basically walked away from the fight. But they still dumped it on Eddie. And how they got away with that, because there's a lot of people who really dislike Eddie in the industry. He's the most hated figure in boxing, probably. So sections of boxing media and the industry, we're not going to take Eddie to task. But because of the anti-Eddie movement, let's call it, they weren't going to take Bob Arum and Frank to task the way they should have done. In fact, I dare say there were a lot of people who were glad the fight didn't go ahead. They didn't want Eddie to pull it off. But this time they don't have a target who they can dump all the liability on like Eddie. They don't have it. Can't do that with Khrushchev and Klimas. And Frank has lost the popularity war. Bob Arum has wisely stayed quiet and said nothing. Wisely. His silence tells a whole lot. You're not going to battle Arum for your man, Fury, and put up a fight and say he really tried to make the fight? You're not really pissed with Khrushchev and Klimas? You're just going to stay quiet? That tells a lot in itself. A whole lot. I know he's an old guy, but unless someone could tell me he's near on his deathbed, that tells a whole lot to shut Arum up like that. For Arum not to argue his case if he feels the other party were culpable. Team Usyk are not stupid. They're adjusting to this Western model of professional boxing. I'm talking about the business side. I ain't talking about in the ring. They can look after themselves very competently in the ring. I'm talking about the business, the propaganda, and the spin politics. And Frank Warren got played. Frank Warren forgot that he was in the team that walked away from the deal in 2021. He was in that team. He's forgot Fury has a history of pulling out of fights. I'm not going to list all the fights now. I've done a video on it just the other day. I'll put it in the description box if enough of you ask for it, if you haven't caught it. They forgot this man has a PED case for illegally using to gain an advantage. And it's caught them up now. You don't have Eddie Hearn to put the blame on. And Team Usyk have used that to their advantage. Of course they have. Listen, they more than likely go home as heroes, even though the fight isn't made. The Ukraine are going to be saying, them fucking greedy motherfuckers wanted 70-30. They wouldn't give us $1 million. Our guy stood up for us and tried to get us $1 million, and Tyson Fury wouldn't give up the $1 million. Even though he said he would go on the battlefield and fight for us, he's not a man of honor. Usyk is the man of honor. He's our hero, the Ukraine hero. The people love him. The president loves him. In Britain, public opinion is on Usyk's side. America, Usyk's side. Worldwide, the boxing fans, public opinion is on Usyk's side. You just got a few goofs in Talk Sport and a few other media outlets who are trying to say it's Usyk or pretend that it's equal liability on both sides. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And they've played you. If they didn't have that public opinion on their side, they would have had to take the 70-30. No million to the people of the Ukraine. 50-50 split if Usyk wins in a rematch. All of that crap, they would have had to take it. Or they would have looked like they was ducking. But now they can walk away with the moral high ground. Not to mention a trailer load of publicity from all the shenanigans going back and forth between Team Usyk and Team Fury. So when Frank Warren is saying, oh, they can't get no money anywhere else, you should be asking, where can Tyson Fury go from here? Tyson Fury tried to relegate Usyk to the copper box fighting Daniel Dubois. You better mind your next fight isn't in the copper box. Will the next Tyson Fury fight be in a stadium? With his name being Mud, you can't go to America and get nothing. There's nothing out there for him there in America. What, a fourth Wilder fight? I'd love to see them try it. I noticed in the interview one day ago, Frank Warren, what did he say? Oh, the AJ fight is bigger than Usyk. This is after the fallout, he said that. So he's got to put it back on the table. He's got to reconsider his options, yeah? But look what he said in December, after the Fury and AJ negotiations fell out. Anthony Joshua fits nowhere in Tyson Fury's future plans, insists Frank Warren, who says the Gypsy King is pursuing bigger and better fights, but claims he would pit Joshua against Dubois or Joe Joyce.
You're making a mistake.
The mistake Frank Warren and Tyson Fury made is they played on Usyk's popularity. Oh, he's not popular over here.
It's a small cruiserweight. A foreigner don't speak good English, and nobody's really interested. Anyway, he's not saying anything I like. I want the big fights that people are interested in, and that ain't one of them.
What if he was to beat Joshua?
Still, it won't be a big fight. He's still a foreigner in a westernised world. The belts are back in the West, and they're going to stay there. And, you know, for whatever it sounds like, the heavyweight champion should be from Britain or America, nowhere else. That's it. Because maybe in Ukraine he might be a big star, but the Britain or America ain't interested in some Ukrainian boxers boxing in Ukraine, and that's the way it is. The heavyweight champion of the world needs to be in the West, and that's it. That's how it goes.
Nobody wants to see no Ukrainian fight. They want British and American champions. He didn't feed into it that way, at least not publicly. But Frank thought, yeah, it's a couple of foreigners. No one cares about you. It's all about Tyson Fury and all that shit there. I believe that's why you keep seeing him in England football jerseys. He's trying to get the boys on his side, you know. Yeah, come on, we're all England. You support Tyson Fury. Don't listen to what the Ukraine is saying. He's the one who don't want to fight. Now, that might work with the EDL supporters. It might work with them, but it's not really resonating with most people in the United Kingdom. They think Tyson Fury's a ducker. Dumb shit.
This is Tony Thompson, chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes.
Hank Lundy chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes.
This is that Mayor Hardcore Mentor on Boxing Beats and Rhymes YouTube channel. Tune in because this is the place to be, man, all the time.
I am ranked number one. That means I'm the best.